you know that. We're talking about having a good 11th grade year. We're talking about next year, applying for college senior year, and after college. We need everybody to make sure that they do the pre-test. Again, it just takes a few seconds, so it's not much time at all. Here are the counselors at Centennial. All of the counselors and Miss Holloway, the graduation coach, we all care about you guys. Even if we don't know you, we want to be able to help you however we can. We're accessible. You can email us. For those that are face-to-face, just know that if you speak with your counselor in advance, each counselor has kind of a different way they're doing individual meetings, so make sure you kind of know your counselor's way. But for last names A through CO, I'm your counselor. Ms. Ekpo for CP through H, Ms. Root for I through NH, Ms. Freeman is NI through SI, Ms. Peart SJ through Z, and Ms. Holloway is the graduation coach. So again, we just want you to know who we are, and we want you to know that we're available for you guys, whether you're universal remote or whether you're face-to-face. And again, please make sure you do this pre-test. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Ms. Freeman so she can talk about what we're speaking about today in more detail.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Giles, for putting this together. As he said, I'm Ms. Freeman. I'm the counselor who works with students' last names NI through SI. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to talk to you all about our academic post-secondary options, basically helping you plan for what you're going to be doing after high school. Today's lesson is going to be focused primarily around preparation for college. However, we do acknowledge that some students will be going directly into the workforce, military, etc. We are going to talk about topics around building your list of colleges and finding a college that is the best fit for you. We're going to touch on college admissions criteria, provide some information through freshman profiles, which are the mid-range standardized test scores, grade point average, and cost of colleges. We're going to touch upon the college application process, grade point average, and provide an introduction to Naviance. We're going to discuss SAT and ACT requirements and preparation, scholarships and financial aid, and then finally we are going to provide some very practical information around what you should prioritize and be doing as a junior. So what different types of colleges are there for you? The first that I'm going to touch upon that Ms. Ekpo is going to provide more information on are two-year technical colleges. These colleges are going to offer us associate's, certificate, and diploma options. The benefit to technical colleges is that they offer classes and degrees that are directly aligned to that particular job or career that you want to go into, whether it's culinary or cooking, cosmetology, auto mechanics, engineering, computers, health sciences. There are a ton of hands-on programming that's available to you, especially those of you who like hands-on learning. The greatest benefit outside of the flexibility and the lower cost is that the technical college system in Georgia has over a 99% job placement rate for those students who finish their programs. If you'll look under tuition and fees, their tuition is approximately $5,600 per year for full-time enrollment. And again, an example in Georgia would be Gwinnett Technical College. Technical colleges require a minimum of a high school diploma and then either the SAT, ACT, or the AccuPlacer, which is a condensed version of those tests. In addition to two-year technical colleges, you also have the option of a two-year, or what some people call junior colleges. These two-year colleges, guys, offer associate's degrees, and this again is a more cost-effective way of knocking out some of those general college classes that most four-year colleges are going to require. So again, you could presumably go to a two-year college like Perimeter College at Georgia State, knock out those requirements for your first 2 years, and then depending on the college and how well you do in your classes, may be able to take those 2 years of courses and use them towards your four-year college degree. So you may only have to go to that two-year college for 2 years and then the four-year college for an additional 2 years to be able to graduate from that four-year college. This is a really savvy way if you're interested in attending a college out of state where you need to establish residency for a year. A lot of our students will go the 2-year route and then eventually transfer to that four-year college. If you'll notice, their tuition and fees are around $3,730 per year for full-time enrollment. They're going to, again, like technical colleges, require a high school diploma. They'll be looking at a minimum grade point average, and then they will also be looking at the SAT or ACT for admission. Moving on to four-year colleges and universities, these are going to offer bachelor's, master's, and/or doctoral degrees. These are our University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, Oglethorpe, Emory, etc. are a few examples of in-state colleges. These are going to provide that well-rounded college environment, maybe a wide variety of extracurricular opportunities, majors, etc. The big thing to consider if you're looking at a four-year college, and Ms. Ekbo will go into more detail in her portion, is the cost. If you look at the cost of public in-state colleges, those are going to range around $12,000 per year, not including room and board. Public out-of-state colleges, for example, for those of us living in Georgia, an example would be the University of Florida, because we do not have residency in Florida. The average cost for Georgia students would be $27,000 per year, not including room and board. And then private colleges, I like to say that these are expensive for you, whether you're in-state or out-of-state, are around $37,000 per year. These four-year colleges, as we'll talk about more in a few minutes, are going to require the rigor of a college prep diploma, grade point average, standardized test scores. Centennial does not rank other than Val and Sal are number 1 and 2 in the class. Essays, extracurricular activities, leadership, and letters of recommendation. So I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Ekbo to provide some additional detail.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. So I'm Ms. Ekpo here, counselor to students of CP through H last name, and I am offering you the details that Ms. Freeman promised. So in these next few slides, we're going to discuss the college selection process from your perspective and also from the collegiate perspective. But before we get into that process, I just want to make sure you are aware of some background information that includes, of course, trends in college pricing. That's what this slide is pointing out to you in this moment. When students often review colleges and the cost of college, they're really reviewing the cost of tuition. But what this slide shows you is that the cost of attendance is more than just tuition. It also includes costs related to room and board, books and supplies. That would include things like lab goggles and lab coats. And then also transportation if you are using the public transportation system, or even if you're bringing your own car, the cost of transportation is included there. And then other expenses that would include things like gym fees and also technical fees. So this slide pretty much highlights that. And it also highlights the differences in cost depending on location. I like to say further and longer is the most expensive. So the further away you are in terms of whether you're in state or out of state, the more money your college tuition is going to be. And also, the longer it takes for you to complete your degree, that's going to cost more as well. So if you're interested in a technical school that has a 2-year opportunity, that of course is going to cost you much less than opportunities that are 4 years in length. So that's what this slide shows you. The public 2-year opportunities are that first bar, and then that second to last bar is the public 4-year out-of-state opportunity. You see the difference in cost there. The last bar there is private schools. As Ms. Freeman stated, private schools are most expensive whether you are in state or out of state. So Ms. Freeman spoke to you about the differences between technical schools and four-year colleges in regards to the admission requirements. But this slide is speaking to you about the structure and function of the colleges, because that also differs between technical schools and four-year colleges. What you've seen is that the technical schools, again, shorter in duration. They normally give you your experiences within 2 years versus four-year colleges giving you your experience within 4. Technical schools focus on hands-on experience, which again will include things like barbering, cosmetology, welding, makeup artistry, things that sincerely involve your hands, where you can learn a skill and walk away and work right away. Again, 99% job placement. Those are great numbers. Again, because they're giving you targeted information for your career success. And because that information is targeted, you have less flexibility in terms of course selection, because again, the courses are designed to get you in, out, and employed immediately after your technical school matriculation. The great thing about technical schools is that there are scholarship opportunities, and most specifically, that HOPE grant is an opportunity for technical schools. You'll hear a bit about FAFSA and the application that opens you up to this grant opportunity. You'll hear about that a bit later, but just know that there are scholarship opportunities that extend to technical schools. They are not all reserved for four-year college opportunities. Examples of technical schools include Gwinnett Technical College and Lanier Technical College. Those are the two that are closest to the students here in Roswell. Four-year programs, again, offer a broader range of academic opportunities. You'll also recognize that four-year colleges are often what students think about when they think about a traditional college experience. Most of what we see on television and in movies in regards to college, they're speaking more about the four-year college experience. The HOPE scholarship extends to four-year colleges, different from the grant in that the grant is reserved for technical schools, whereas the scholarship, the HOPE scholarship is reserved for four-year colleges and universities that will cover a portion of your tuition or all of your tuition. Important to note too that the HOPE grant, depending on your program, will also cover all of your tuition retroactively. Examples of four-year colleges are Georgia Gwinnett College or GGC, University of Georgia or UGA, Georgia State, and Georgia Southern. Those are examples of four-year colleges.
And when we say technical school versus four-year colleges, we're not saying one is good and one is bad. It's really more about a goodness of fit, what works for you. I think four-year colleges have a great place. I think sometimes we kind of don't consider technical colleges, technical schools, or we kind of like look kind of down on that or something like that. I think I did that when I was in high school, but I just didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the understanding. When you talk about some of these jobs that you're going to get, if, for instance, you were to go to a technical school, you're talking about jobs that aren't going anywhere. Like your car will break down and you will pay somebody to fix it. That job is not going away. So you're talking about job security. You're talking about also not spending lots of money on like paying for it, like in loans and stuff like that, because the programs are shorter. And you're talking about, hey, I'm going, my school, my college, I'm going into a garage and there's a car lifted up and I'm working on it. You know, the same can be said for, you know, culinary. I'm in a kitchen and I'm cooking, or, you know, you talk about, for instance, plumbing. Like, I didn't know when I was in high school that, wow, a plumber can be making like $80,000 a year. Like, because if something goes wrong with your plumbing, you're going to pay whatever you need to pay. Like, the job is not going away. So if for whatever reason you feel like, hey, you might be on the fence, at least consider the technical schools. Don't just write them off. They're not like lesser than. It's just different.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Giles. So using information that you just gleaned from Mr. Giles and also information about the structure, function, and cost of every college to build your college list. When you build your college list, we ask that you keep 3 schools in mind: a safety school, a match school, and a reach school. So what you'll see later in this presentation is we are going to introduce you to school profiles. And what a school profile is, in summary, is it outlines the college academic portfolio of the students they've admitted in the past. And that's what you will use to drive whether or not your school is a reach, a match, or a safety school. So we'll start with reach schools, the first tab up top. So a reach school is a school where your academic record closely mirrors the profile of the school of your interest. I'm sorry, it does not closely mirror the profile of the school of interest. It's the READ school. You may fall right below it. So for instance, if most students on that campus have a 3.5, but you have a 3.4, you're not quite there, that's a REACH school. But you may still be a great candidate for the school because you have a lot of padding. And by padding, I mean you have great letters of recommendation, you have great test scores, you have great leadership and just different activities on campus that school would want to have on their campus. That's how you pad your application. So with some padding, you may be what that REACH school is looking for. That's a REACH school. A match school is where you closely resemble what the school's portfolio is. So if they're asking for certain criteria in grade point average and in test score, you have those things. That's a match school. That's where what they're asking for is exactly what you bring to the table. Now, a safety school is where you far exceed those measures. So what they're asking for in terms of grade point average, test score, leadership, all of those great things, you far exceed those things. So that portfolio or that school profile, everything listed there for that school, you have and then some. That's a safety school. We ask that you have a couple of safety schools, but that you put more energy into your REACH school and match schools, but that you definitely have a school in each category.
And if you do it like this, you know that you're going to get into multiple schools. That can decrease the whole stress of all of this, of figuring all this out. If you apply to only REACH schools, every school that you're applying to requires a 1500 SAT and a 4.0 and whatever. That's why people can be so stressed out. Like it's too much pressure. You feel like, oh, I could not get into college. If you build a college list this way, then you're not going to have that pressure of, am I going to get into college? Am I going to get into school? You're going to get into multiple schools, and then you're going to have your choice. You're going to be able to choose based off what Ms. Ekpo is going to talk about in the next slide.
Awesome. So this is how you build choice, right? So these are things for you to consider as you are choosing a college of best fit for you. One, we've gone over already, that's the location. Again, the cost of your college tuition is going to vary based off of the location. Another thing to consider is how far away the school is from your home. If you know that you need your parental support, your sibling support, you may not want to move too far away from that familiar support. So that will drive your decision in regards to your college and where it is located. The student body. If you know that Centennial class sizes are exactly what you need, you may want to consider a class that offers the same style of class size and also the same size altogether. So most schools will offer you a student to faculty ratio that will tell you about how many students are in the campus and about how many students are also in a class. That'll kind of help you decide whether or not that class size of that student body overall is exactly what you need. The academic programs, I always say, a lot of students choose colleges based off of the reputation, mainly of their sporting teams. So they're like, UGA, go Dogs, yes, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I knew it was coming. Yes. But you get on UGA's campus and you're like, oh, the only thing offered here is underwater basket weaving. Not what I'm interested in. Yeah, I did that to you, Giles. That's so right. All that to say, start with your academic interest first. And then make sure that your college supports that interest, that there's a program on that campus that will support your interests. Campus life and student activities. If what you love about Centennial are the many opportunities for you to get involved here on campus, then that's something to consider when you consider a collegiate campus. You want to make sure that there are a lot of opportunities for you to be involved there as well. That's where campus life and student activities come into play. And all of that information is located on a college's website, so you can find it easily. Also on a college website, they'll point out your financial aid and scholarship opportunities. As we spoke about numerous times already, college can be expensive. So anything that will eat up that expense is a great thing. And financial aid and scholarship opportunities definitely do that. You want to definitely entertain the schools that offer you the most in terms of financial aid and scholarship ops. Student housing and dining options. They're again, if you are not commuting, it's important for you to have a place on campus. So you want to research that and make sure that if you're going far away from home, that you have a place to lay your head at night. So that's where student housing comes into play. You want to make sure that that place is also comfortable. If you prefer a suite style to a community style, where my generation, they were like 30 people on a hallway sharing the same bathroom. If you're like, yeah, no, that's not what I want, then you're going to pay attention to student housing to see whether or not they have suite style dorms, or that they even have dorms at all. You definitely want to pay attention to that. Dining options, you want to pay attention to your own diet restrictions, and you want to make sure that all that you need in terms of your personal diet is all that a campus offers you. Prestige, reputation, and national ranking, those are things that you pay attention to. If that's important to you, if you want to go to a school, definitely that's reputable in your area of interest, certainly entertain that, certainly research that information to make sure that the school that you're interested in is not lowest in rank and that they have a horrible reputation in your area of interest. Certainly things to consider as you're considering colleges. And again, the diversity of the school body. You want to make sure that the school that you are on, the campus that you are on, is a campus that welcomes you. You want to make sure that as you show up exactly as you are, that campus is going to be one that wraps their arms around you and they support you and pull you into that family fold. That's diversity on campus. You want to make sure that most students will be represented on that campus and appreciated on that campus. That's important. You want to make sure that that school brings you into their scholastic fold and campus.
And the seniors that are currently applying right now, something they're having to consider with COVID is the school that I'm applying to, are they letting students on campus? Or are they only online? Maybe it's really important to me that when I graduate, I got to get out of my house and I got to go somewhere. So this might be something that is still in play when you guys are graduating next year, you know, depending on how COVID goes. And that class size thing, I think that's a big deal. You might not realize, or maybe you already know, I mean, some of the entry-level classes in some of the big, well-known universities, you got 300 students in there. You know, I had a counselor that I knew, they took a class like that, it had 900 students in it. If that doesn't work for you, there are, you know, mid-level and small. I mean, there are colleges where your class size would be smaller than what you have now. So all that stuff makes a difference.
Awesome, great point, Mr. Giles. So we've spoken about what you were looking for in a college, but colleges have choice too. This is what colleges look for in students. And this slide specifically speaks to selective colleges, but most colleges pretty much mirror these same factors in terms of what they are looking for. The college admission officers, their main goal is to see whether or not you are college ready. And how they do that is by reviewing the things noted here on the slide. So they're asking the question of whether or not you are intellectually curious. And what that means is, have you taken full advantage of the scholastic opportunities on your high school campus? So that will be the diversity of classes on your transcript. That's how you will demonstrate that. And that is choosing not only a range of electives between like arts and any CTAE business class, it's also in the levels of rigor. So did you explore college prep classes to see whether or not you could handle that, move on to honors and move up to AP, jump into AP, play around with dual enrollment once you realize AP definitely could have offered you greater challenge. It's about those type things. That's what you're showing colleges that will demonstrate your readiness for college. Also, courses in your senior year. Later on, Ms. Roop is going to speak to your senior year course load, because what colleges prefer is a student that has stayed academically engaged throughout their 4 years. They didn't take that rest break in their senior year. Imagine what school is like when you come back from summer break. You sit in a class, the teacher gives you information and you're like, yeah, did I learn that? Just that 3 months of a break is enough to kind of pull you back a bit. So imagine that summer break coupled with an entire senior year where you didn't challenge yourself. Jumping into college curriculum may be tough if you haven't considered that. So make sure that you keep your senior year courses up to par, up to your level of rigor that you've encountered your entire year. GPA and test scores. Of course, you want to make sure that the colleges are trying to make sure that you are a stellar student. GPA and test scores say that. Extracurricular activities, academic and athletic awards, they say the same thing. Specifically, the athletic awards and extracurricular activities, what that's saying is that you are a student that handles time management well. You're a student that handles distraction well. That in part of being stellar in your community and also in your classrooms, nothing was compromised. Your grade point average was not compromised by your service elsewhere. Community service speaks to your colleges about, Community service speaks to your colleges about the influence you plan to have on their campus. It gives them an idea about how you will influence and shape their campus once you arrive in the fall. So very important things to make note of. Letters of recommendations, I can't stress that enough, how important that is. It basically is the college asking your teacher to speak to another teacher about what it's like to teach you. So you want to make sure that your teachers can speak well of you in that regard. And you want to make sure that you're starting to form relationships with your teacher so that they can speak well of you and that they can provide letters of recommendations that are remarkably important to a college recruiter. Last thing is demonstrated interest. You want to make sure that if you tell a school that you are their #1 school, that you're their #1 applicant, then you've got to show that. You've got to show that you've researched their programs. You know what programs they offer on campus. You can't go to a school and say, you're my #1 school, but then you're like, but I want to study something you don't offer. Ooh, right? So if they're offering a opportunity for you to follow them on social media, do that. If they're offering you an opportunity to visit their virtual fair or a virtual interest session, certainly take advantage of those things. You definitely just want to show the school that you are as interested in them as you want them to be in you. The last bullet there notes that there's no magic number of AP classes necessary for college entry, and that's exactly right. It is as it's stated, is you want to make sure that you attack the level of rigor that will also support your grade point average. You do not want one to compromise the other. So if you are taking AP classes, but they are, you're taking them as a detriment to your grade point average is slipping with the greater number of AP courses you've taken, something to reconsider. The goal is to do well across the board. It's to do well in your AP classes while maintaining or strengthening that grade point average. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Ms. Peart, counselors for students with last names SJ through Z. Okay, Ms. Ekpo did touch upon the REACH schools, the safety, and the match schools. Well, how do you determine whether a school is REACH, safety, or match? So one way is to look at the admission requirements. The other way is to look at the competitive pool, meaning look at the freshman year profile, look at to see who was accepted the previous year. So right now on the PowerPoint, we have UGA versus Georgia Tech. So you'll see that 28,524 students applied to UGA and 13,131 were admitted. So if I were to ask you, what was the average ACT scores for Georgia Tech, you would look at the freshman profile and saw that it was 31 to 34. And you can do that with other schools also. We have more schools. Next slide, please. If I asked you what was the average SAT score for Georgia State, so it was 1,070 through 1,260, and so on. And what was the average GPA to Kennesaw for Kennesaw State? 3.36. So you would know that. So you'll know if that could be your REACH, based on your SAT scores, your GPA, whether or not that those schools will be your match, your safety, or your REACH schools. The other thing is that Ms. Ekpo talked about was demonstrated interest. When you do this, when you research the colleges, and we are going to talk to you about a platform that we utilize, that our seniors are utilizing now to do their research and to apply, called Naviance. Mr. Giles will talk about that in a few minutes. So you will use Naviance to do your research on colleges and learn a little bit more about the colleges. Demonstrated interest means that you're going to show the recruiters or the college admission recruiters or the when you go to the college to visit, that you know a little bit about the college. So you will conduct a research and know a little bit about what the average SAT scores were for the previous freshman year, and they'll be very impressed. Next slide, please. College application. Our seniors are right there in the midst of college application right now. The class of 2021 is really working hard. They're using Naviance to actually request documents from us, but they're using Common App to apply. Common App application, and Naviance will be for supporting documents. Supporting documents are transcripts, letters of recommendation, and then you guys will send the test scores on the testing portal that you're utilizing. SAT would be College Board, and then ACT would be actstudent.org. So you would need to provide test scores, transcript, letters of recommendations. We ask also for letters of recommendation, especially for us counselors. We ask that you complete a student profile. And it's always nice to provide that to your teachers too, that you're requesting the recommendations from. The school profile is sort of like a little resume of yourself. What have you done? What activities have you participated in? What honors or awards have you received? So that's really good for us to receive, so we can talk a little bit more, like a brag sheet, and we can talk a little bit more about you. So provide that to your teachers also. And we ask for that 10-day notice. So we'll get more into that next year, senior year, but we just want you to be aware that there is a process. Next slide. Now, GPA. What is my GPA? Your GPA is located on your transcript in the upper left corner, up where the arrow is. We provide a numeric GPA. Yes, Centennial provides a numeric GPA. Fulton County provides a numeric GPA. We do not convert to a 4.0. And one of the reasons we don't, and you're going to see in the next slide why we don't convert, and it's better for you that we don't convert. On the left is student A, the right is student B. Look at student A's grades. They're a little bit lower than student B, right? But on a 4.0 GPA, they have the same GPA, 3.0. But on a numeric scale, the student B has higher, 88.5, whereas the student A has 80.6. So I say this to tell you that do not convert to 4.0, because we already told the schools that we are using the numeric scale, because we have provided all the schools with our school profile, so they are aware of that. And also, if you do that, it'll be different than what we provided to you. And you guys are not the first class that applied to this school, so they're aware of Centennial's policy. Okay. Now, Mr. Giles will speak with you.
Thank you. All right, guys. So do me a favor, raise a hand or do the thumbs up or whatever. Let me know that you're still here and that you're still with us. Sweet. That's awesome. So what I'm about to do, I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint for a second. I'm going to go online. I'm going to show you a little bit like about Naviance. So give me 1 second. All right. So here we are. I am in the student side of Naviance. Again, for next year, this is going to be important. It's going to help you apply to college. But what about this year? Well, this year, this is a good resource. When we're talking about reach, match, and safety schools, when we're talking about financial aid, like scholarships, when we're talking about learning about different schools and what they offer, Naviance is just kind of like one place to go instead of having to go to every different college website to do your research. Naviance kind of puts everything in here for you, and it's really accessible. They have stuff about careers. They have little surveys if you're like, I have no idea what I want to do. Like, they have different ways to try and help you prepare. And so Fulton County, every high school student in Fulton County, they're expected to use Naviance when they're a senior and they're applying to college. But you guys are also expected to use it as a junior. So this is not connected to your classes, like your teacher, like a grade, but it's connected to the county and your school. They have certain expectations of tasks that you have to complete. It's not like long, it's not like super time consuming, but again, it's all to try and help you get more ready for school. So for instance, one example of a task you have to complete, you have to select 3 careers that you're interested in and like save them to your profile. You got to do the same thing with colleges. This is where that's going to be. You get to it through ClassLink. So when you go to ClassLink, the app looks like this. You click on the app and it'll take you here to the home screen. On the home screen, we have important to-do tasks. It's right in the bottom left-hand corner. This is where you're going to see the tasks that you have to complete. So take some time, get it done, and move on so we don't have to email you and bother you and ask you, hey, have you done your task? Have you completed it? Again, it's all to help you, and it's not going to be super time consuming. When you go to My Planner in the top right-hand corner, that's another way to get to your tasks. So that's a little bit about the home page. you know, they'll give you more details about colleges. They'll give you more details about careers. And they also have different videos. The videos that they have are not from 1980. They're not terrible. They actually are helpful. They actually are relevant. Like they have different business men and women who have been successful, kind of sharing, speaking about, okay, this is what I did. So basically, all I'm saying is this is a resource for you. And we need you, one, we need you to do the task that you're expected to complete. But two, it's just helpful for you if you want to use it as a research, as a tool for research. And then next year, you're going to use it to actually apply. So what I kind of showed you on the website, that's what these next few slides are. How do you get into Naviance? Through ClassLink, we know this. The home page, we already saw this. How to access your tasks on the home page, or my planner tasks. We already got that. There's a college page. Again, there's a lot of different tools for you. They have like a super match. So in other words, they kind of let you say some of those things that we talked about when Ms. Ekpo was talking about finding your fit, like what do you want the college to be like? Do you want it to be a large campus? Do you want it to have journalism or this program or that program? You can kind of say, and you can kind of put those filters on, and you can kind of see what colleges match up with what you're interested in. We already said they have some career stuff and career information, 5,000 videos, helpful stuff. So you only have 4 tasks that you have to do. Again, not super complicated. One of them, add 3 colleges, save 3 careers. Then 2 of them are surveys. One's about career, so workforce. One's about dual enrollment. So that's the stuff that you're going to have to do on your own, just whenever. Hopefully you can do it today. But at least by spring semester. We have Ms. Root coming on, taking over.
Thank you, Mr. Giles. My name is Mrs. Rube. I am the counselor for students I through NH. And right now we're going to talk about the SAT and ACT. Guys, if you have not as juniors yet thought about or signed up for an SAT or ACT, we don't know what it's going to look like in fall 2022 when you are actually going to college, if it's going to be required or not. So right now for our graduating seniors, it is test optional at a lot of schools, but pending COVID, we want to make sure that you're prepared. So that means that you've got to sign up to take one of these college admissions tests if you're planning to go to a 4-year college. All colleges have minimum test scores required for admission, and it's recommended from us that you send all of your scores because the colleges will use your highest available. Some colleges super score, which means that they take the highest of all sections of like the SAT and they put them together to get the highest composite score. So they're there to assist and help you as much as possible. And usually SAT or ACT doesn't matter. Colleges will take either. The SAT upcoming dates for the spring, they have tests in March, May, and June, and the ACT has tests February, April, June, and July. So there's a lot of opportunity to sign up for one of these tests in the second semester of your junior year, which we would recommend. These are some test prep opportunities. This is not just an exclusive list. This is just some options that we have listed on our website, but definitely absolutely take advantage of these free opportunities. And remember, don't take an SAT or ACT without having some test prep. You all are very brilliant, but we can never remember everything that we learned from 9th grade. That was several years ago. So make sure that you do some test prep before you take the actual test. So there are different types of financial aid. They're all listed here. I'm going to touch on them really briefly. Grants are like gift aid, and they are predominantly needs-based, meaning if your family doesn't make a certain amount of money, you would be eligible for those grants if you looked into what the requirements are. So they are state and federal money, And for an example, like the Hope Grant for Georgia is available for students that are looking at a 2-year tech school. And the awards in schools are based upon the eligibility. So some colleges do it, some don't, and the awards differ for money. For scholarships, they do not have to be repaid either. They are like a gift basket if you are applying. And I want to make this super clear because this is a question I get all the time. Scholarships are for everybody. You don't have to have a specific GPA for some. You don't have to be an athlete for some. You don't have to have community service for some. Some you don't even have to write an essay. So scholarships are available to everybody. It's just about finding the ones that are appropriate for you. And they sit there, and if people don't apply for them, the money goes unused. And this happens every year where like a $1,000 scholarship is being given away, but no one applies for it. So scholarships are available, and we have them listed for when you turn into a senior. Even some you can do now as a junior, which is pretty cool. We have everything listed that's local on our Twitter account, and we'll show you the tag name for our Twitter account so you can follow us. On Naviance, you can do scholarship searches and apply, so that's really great too. And then we have a comprehensive list of options to look for scholarships on our website, mycentennialcounseling.com. Work study is money that you earn while you're working on campus, like a job. You don't have to repay it because you're being paid, and it's primarily needs-based to get those positions for work study. And then loans are the only thing that needs to be repaid if you can't get enough money from scholarships, work study, and or grants. This is government money that you are borrowing, and so you're going to repay with interest once you graduate. And they come from either the government, like for the FAFSA, or through private loans, sometimes like banks and different things, but they vary. Hope and Zell Miller. So the Hope Scholarship is based on an unweighted 3.0 GPA for your core classes. Core classes are math, social studies, English, and science, and world languages. So those 5 make up the core classes. Unweighted means any +7 points, they are stripped out. And if you have an A, it equals a 4 point, B equals a 3 point, C equals 2 points, and if you fail is 0. They add all those together from your 9th through 12th grades, and then they look at what your core GPA is out of a 4.0. If you meet those requirements and you have 4 classes of rigor, then you are eligible for the Hope Scholarship in the state of Georgia if you apply to a school here. It is different public versus private for how much that they cover. If you have a 3.7 unweighted GPA and an SAT score of 1200 or ACT score of 26 or higher, then those award amounts they differ as well, but they cover more. So typically we see Hope is between like 60 and 70% covered for tuition only. Zell is usually 100% unless it's a rigor school like somewhere like Georgia Tech, where everyone has to have at least a 3.7 to get in. The 4 classes of rigor, the rigor assignment is listed on this little slide for you, and then you have to make sure you have at least 4 of those and complete the FAFSA in order to get a Hope or Zell Miller scholarship in Georgia. So the next steps as a junior. Obviously, guys, when you start to apply to schools, they will look at your grades from grade 9 through 11. If you apply early, like October 15th or November 1st, those are the only grades they see. They don't see your senior year grades yet. They might see the classes that you're in and the rigor that you have. But 11th grade is really important for those grades. Stay focused on your academics. Keep showing up to your classes. Make sure that you are active in your school activities. Even with this COVID stuff, it's all really, really important. Don't lighten your load for senior year. Don't be like, I took all these honors AP stuff for 9 through 11, and then senior year, I'm not going to do difficult things. Don't do that. That doesn't make you look good. So let's stay the task. Keep doing the absolute best that you can. Make sure that you're registering to take that SAT or ACT and take AP tests if you're in those classes. That's really helpful to get that college credit. The last piece on this slide is college exploration. With COVID, they've done a lot of great things to kind of bridge that gap, since a lot of us can't go to visit colleges and do tours. So on our website, mycentennialcounseling.com, underneath college and career, there's a drop-down menu that goes down to college visits. If you go there, you can, one, sign up to talk to a college representative that's scheduled through Naviance, or you can tour a college that has done a virtual tour. There is a link to those, and there are hundreds of colleges on there that are participating. They're all over the country. It's a really good opportunity for you and your parent to do a virtual tour of the college, since you can't necessarily go there. And lastly is college fairs. We had a probe fair that was in, I believe, September and October. There are always more college fairs that are posted. We'll share it on our social media and on our website. And here's our social media handle name. It's @Knights_Scholar. So I post on our Instagram. I post updates and important information for you guys to see. Ms. Ekbo posts on our Twitter. Anytime that we get scholarship information or any important announcements that have to do with that piece, it's on our Twitter. So follow us. It's the same name for both, and we love to see you on there.
Sweet. So, students, your counselors, our goal and our desire is to meet with every single student that's a junior one-on-one. The point of it is to make sure there are no surprises senior year in regards to graduation. We want you to know what you need to do to graduate. If there was a class that you needed to make up or whatever, we want you to see where you are, what you need to do. And then also, if you have any questions about like Naviance or SAT, my Hope GPA, stuff like that, we also try and kind of give you another chance to talk to us one-on-one. Especially this year with students being, some students coming to Centennial, some students being online only, it's going to be really, really important for you guys to make sure you make this meeting happen. The counselors, we're telling you about it here. We told your parents about it at the 10th, 11th grade parent meeting. We're sending out emails. We're doing everything we can to communicate, hey, set up an appointment. But it's on you to actually set it up. It's on you to show up when you set it up. So please make sure that, you know, this month, December, January, and February, this is kind of your time to make sure you know exactly what you need for graduation, and that any questions that you have about, okay, next year I'm applying to college, or next year I want to do this, that, or the other. It lets you ask those questions. It also helps us get to know you a little bit. So when we're writing letters of rec, we've seen you before, we've talked to you before, etc. Okay, so I'm begging you, man, please scan this flow code. Please go ahead right now. It's the same questions as the pretest. This is what helps us know that you heard what we said, that you were engaged, that you got something from this past 45 minutes or whatever. So this would be really appreciated if you can go and scan that post-test flow code. I'm going to put it in the chat. And that's something that we need everybody to do. We really would appreciate it if you helped us out and did that. I'm also going to put this helpful resource link. So this has, for instance, the SAT dates, the ACT dates, and just different information like about Naviance, stuff like that. If you scan that flow code, that's going to also just kind of take you straight to a whole bunch of one-pagers on information that, okay, now you don't have to go to the website to find it out, because here it is. We only have, well, we have about 12 minutes, 10 minutes, or 10 or 11 minutes. If you would like to put a question in the chat, or if you would like to go off mute and ask a question, we're available. Like, I'm available for that. You don't have to do that. But if you had any questions about anything we shared, or you could put something in the chat. Also, If you have any general questions that you want to meet with your counselor about, just make sure, again, you know kind of your counselor's process of how they're meeting with you, and whether that's online or whatever, just kind of know what the process is and know that, hey guys, we're available, we want to help, we got your back. And I'm sure there's a lot of stress out there right now, but we believe that you guys can be successful and you can have a good junior year, and you can take that into having a good senior year. There are students that in November or December, they are, as seniors, they are done applying to college. Like they've already applied, they're waiting to hear back. And so spring semester, with whatever, activities or sports or just whatever, just life in general, spring semester is not trying to apply to college and hearing all your friends talk about where they're going and being stressed out and being worried. Spring semester is waiting to hear, the good news, waiting to hear back. For that to happen, you really have to kind of do these things that we're talking to you about. Take care of things your junior year so that senior year can be more smooth and less complicated. So Ms. Freeman, if you want to get on, you can speak.
Oh, I just put something in the chat and let my students know that I typically start my advisements in early January after we have a semester under our belt. But of course, if any of my students have questions or want to meet ahead of time, I am ready and available. So just shoot me an email or a text and we can figure out something.
Sweet. Again, one more time, guys, please go ahead and do that post test. Finally, please make sure that you do your tasks in Naviance. Those 4 tasks that we talked about, make sure you complete that. And it looks like, even now, you probably could finish a couple of them now before going to the next period. Maybe that's not your jam. But anyways, thank you guys for coming on. And that's pretty much all we needed to talk about.